My name is Andy Woods, and I am the parent of Stella Blue Woods, who is a childhood kidney cancer survivor. Stella was diagnosed at 4 years old with a very aggressive form of Wilms tumor. She had a stage 4 diffuse anaplastic Wilms tumor, which had metastasized to her lungs. When we were first diagnosed, I think, like many parents, it's just a very shocking, traumatic event, and you were immediately thrown into this world that you know nothing about. Your back's against the wall, you know, when they're saying, look, your kid has this really aggressive cancer and we've treated it and now it's relapsed and now she even has less of a chance of making it. I mean, you really get put in this position where you have to do something, you know, you have to. So about a month before we went into transplant, I decided that I really had to have a good understanding of this disease. I almost had to become an oncologist, but there I was, you know, in the thick of it. We were in the clinic, and so I thought, you know, well, I could go back to school and try to learn all this stuff, but this is all happening right here, right now. You know, I need to really kind of dive in on my own. So I started researching, you know, what's the newest and greatest thing to come out today in Wilms tumor, with the idea that maybe I can find this new stuff, and then I recognize that it takes a long time to move from a scientific paper to a clinical trial. But here I was kind of facing the sort of death of my child, you know, it could be. So what I can do is just try to speed this process along as fast as I can. Unfortunately, there is a section or a segment of the population of Wilms kids that do not respond well to therapies, and that's the 10% that present with anaplastic tumors. With anaplasia, the nucleuses of the cells are gigantic and they are not organized in a very typical fashion. They're all spread out. And so once they diagnose that as anaplasia, they know that it doesn't respond well to therapies. So with this project, we're going to bring the anaplastic cell lines into the lab, and then we'd like to sequence them genetically and look for differences between anaplastic tumors and regular Wilms tumors, and try to identify a unique biomarker or target that's unique to anaplasia and might explain why these kids respond so poorly compared to their non-anaplastic counterparts. And then we'll take the cell lines and we'll put them in a drug screen, and then we'll use compounds that we know act against these pathways in the drug screen. And our hope is that we see some activity, that we find a compound that works against a protein that's unique to anaplasia, and then that compound reacts against the cell line, essentially kills the cells. The biggest hurdle that we've run into is the fact that Wilms tumor cell lines are incredibly hard to grow. So getting cell lines is a bit of a challenge. The start of this crowdfunding campaign will allow us to pay to ship some of these cell lines over here. And then, of course, the sequencing, they have down to about $1,000 a line now they can sequence, which is really reasonable compared to what it used to be. But you know, the value of science is the more you can do, the better. And so if we could bring in 20 cell lines and sequence 20 cell lines, we would gather so much more data. But of course, that costs more money. So funding is a big hurdle. You know, a lot of people think about donating to these type of projects, but they don't have a ton to give. And they think, oh, you know, I could give $20, but what good is that going to do? But I think that's, you know, one of the beauties of these online fundraising platforms is that you just reach this massive audience. And it really is true. Like if everybody gave $1, you know, and you reach, and reaching several thousand people online is not difficult. And so if you could get people to actually donate small amounts, you know, it would all come together and add up to something big.